The day you start focusing on yourself is the day your real life begins. Too many people spend their time looking at what everyone else is doing. They compare, they copy, and they try to keep up, but inside they still feel lost. Why? Because they've never stopped to focus on their own life. If you don't make yourself a priority, you will always feel like you're following someone else's path. Focusing on yourself means getting real about what you want, where you're going, and what needs to change. It's about making choices that work for your life, not for someone else's opinion. It's not selfish, it's necessary. When you build yourself, you build your direction. In this talk, I'm going to walk you through how focusing on yourself can completely change your future. If you've been feeling stuck, distracted, or unsure where you're headed, this is the starting point you've been looking for. Chapter 1. Be clear about the life you truly want. You have to begin by asking yourself a serious question. What exactly do you want your life to look like? Not tomorrow, not in 10 years, right now. Because if you're not clear about that, you'll spend your days chasing things that mean nothing to you. You'll work hard, but you'll be working in the wrong direction. You'll be busy, but not productive in the way that changes your life. So many people live this way. They follow the crowd, they do what everyone else is doing, and they end up somewhere they never really wanted to be. If you want a real direction in life, you have to first be clear about where you want to go. Being clear means you strip away the noise. You remove the pressure to meet someone else's expectations. You stop trying to live a life that looks good on the outside, but feels empty inside. This is about looking at your own life honestly and saying, what do I want? What do I need to feel fulfilled? What matters enough that I'm willing to work for it every day? And when I say be clear, I don't mean vague dreams like I want to be successful or I want to be happy. Those are nice, but they're not direction. They're too broad. Being clear means getting specific. What kind of success, in what field, doing what kind of work, living in what kind of environment, with what kind of people around you? You can't hit a target you haven't defined. If you're not clear, you'll drift. You'll take whatever life throws at you, and the danger is, life will throw you a lot of distractions, opportunities that look good but aren't right for you, advice from people who don't understand your vision, situations that eat up your time but give you nothing back. If you don't have clarity, you'll say yes to the wrong things, and every wrong yes takes you further away from your real path. So, step 1 is to make your vision sharp enough that you can recognize what belongs in your life and what doesn't. Clarity doesn't come from thinking about it for 5 minutes. It comes from sitting down with yourself and asking hard questions. What makes you feel alive? What work would you still do if you weren't being paid for it? What values are you not willing to compromise on? What do you want your days to look like? Not in theory, but in reality. Don't be afraid to be honest, even if your answers don't match what people expect of you. This is your life, not theirs. Some people avoid clarity because they're afraid of making the wrong choice. They think, what if I pick a direction and it turns out to be wrong? But the truth is, not choosing is worse. Not choosing keeps you stuck in the same place, wasting time. Even if you choose a path and later realize it's not right, you can adjust, you can change course, but you can't adjust something you never started. Clarity is not about having every detail figured out. It's about knowing enough to take the first steps and keeping your eyes open so you can refine your path as you go. When you know what you want, decisions become easier. You stop debating over every little thing. You stop wondering if you should do this or that, because you already know what lines up with your goals. It's like turning down the volume on the world. so you can hear your own voice clearly. And that voice is the only one you should be following when it comes to building the life you want. Clarity also demands honesty about your current reality. You have to see where you are now so you can figure out how to get to where you want to be. What skills do you need to learn? What habits do you need to drop? What connections do you need to build? If your dream is to run your own business, but you have no idea how to manage money, you know where to start learning. If your dream is to be in top physical shape, but you're eating poorly and not moving enough, you know what changes to make. Without seeing your reality clearly, your vision remains a fantasy. Here's the part most people miss. Clarity isn't just about the big picture. It's also about the daily actions. If you know you want to be financially free, then you know you can't waste your paycheck on things you don't need. If you know you want a stronger mind, you know you have to read, study, and challenge yourself regularly. If you know you want better relationships, you know you need to be around the kind of people who lift you up instead of dragging you down. Your direction comes from aligning your daily behavior with your ultimate goals. Sometimes clarity requires removing things from your life. You can't see your path clearly if it's buried under obligations you don't care about or relationships that drain you. You have to be willing to say no to invitations, to commitments, to people that don't align with your direction. Every no to something unimportant is a yes to something that matters. And if saying no feels uncomfortable, remember this. Every time you agree to something that isn't for you, you're taking time and energy away from the life you say you want. Another trap is thinking you can be clear just by imagining a perfect future. Real clarity comes from doing. You can't always think your way into the right path. You have to try things, test ideas, take action, and see how it feels. Sometimes you won't know if something is right for you until you've done it for a while. And that's okay. Clarity grows through experience, not just thought. But you have to start somewhere. You also have to protect your clarity. Once you have it, guard it. People will challenge your vision. They'll tell you it's too hard, too risky, or unrealistic. They'll offer their own version of what your life should look like. And if you're not careful, their voices will start to drown out your own. This is why focusing on yourself is so important. When you know your direction, you're less likely to be swayed by outside noise. You become anchored in your own goals and values. One of the best ways to protect your clarity is to review it often. Write it down. Read it every morning. Remind yourself why you're on this path, especially on the days when it feels hard. Because there will be days when your motivation fades. That's when your clarity becomes your anchor. It's what keeps you going when excitement fades and challenges show up. Clarity also demands that you take responsibility for your choices. You can't blame the economy, your boss, your family, or your circumstances for the life you're building. If you want to own your future, you have to own your decisions today. Every step you take is shaping the road ahead. If you want a different future, you have to start making different choices now. Clarity helps you see what those choices should be. Now here's the deeper truth. Clarity is freedom. When you know what you want, you stop wasting time chasing what you don't. You stop caring about impressing people who don't matter. You stop measuring yourself against someone else's life. You're free to build what matters to you at your own pace, in your own way, and that is the foundation of a life with real direction. Don't wait for clarity to appear on its own. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you think you have all the answers. Start now. Ask yourself the hard questions. Get specific about what you want. Remove the noise. Begin taking steps that move you closer to the life you've defined for yourself. Because every day you delay is a day you're living without direction. And you deserve more than that. The world is full of people who never took the time to decide what they wanted. They end up living by default, not by design. Don't be one of them. Take control. Choose your direction, make it clear, and then commit to walking that path every single day until the life you want becomes the life you live. Chapter 2. Work on the skills that will change your future. If you want to change your future, you must take a serious look at your skills today. The truth is, your skills are the tools you use to create opportunities, and if those tools are weak or outdated, you're going to struggle to build the life you want. Many people think the future will somehow improve simply because they hope it will. But the future only improves when you improve. And the fastest way to improve is by working on skills that will actually move your life forward. Skills are what make you valuable in the marketplace, but they're also what make you capable of handling life better. Think about where you want to be 5 or 10 years from now. Picture yourself living the kind of life you dream about. Now ask yourself, what would the person living that life know how to do that I don't know how to do yet? That's where your work begins. You can't just wish for a better job, better income, or better opportunities. You have to become the kind of person who can create those outcomes, and that means building the right abilities. It's important to be intentional about this. Too many people learn things that don't add much value to their life or their future. They spend hours picking up random bits of knowledge that never get applied. That's not progress. It's just activity. You need to focus on skills that directly connect to the future you want to build. If you want to start a business, you should be learning how to market, sell, manage finances, and lead people. If you want a career in a competitive industry, you should be learning the technical abilities and problem-solving skills that set you apart from the average person. This is not about collecting skills for the sake of it. It's about strategic development. Every skill you choose to learn should be tied to a specific result you want in your life. You have to make this connection very clear for yourself, because when you do, learning becomes a lot more meaningful. You're not just learning because it's good to know. You're learning because it's going to change the level of opportunities you have. Another thing to remember is that skill development is not an overnight process. You don't get good at something just because you tried it for a week. You have to be willing to put in focused, consistent effort over time. Most people quit before they've even scratched the surface of mastery. They try something, find it difficult, and move on to something else. That's not how you build power. The people who change their future are the ones who stay committed to improving their skills long after the excitement fades. You also have to challenge yourself with skills that make you uncomfortable. It's easy to keep working on the things you're already good at, but your future won't change much if you stay in the comfort zone. If public speaking scares you but your goals require you to communicate with impact, then public speaking is the skill you must attack. If dealing with money feels intimidating but your future requires financial control, then you must face that discomfort and learn how to manage it. The skills that make the biggest difference are often the ones we avoid because they force us to grow in uncomfortable ways. And while we're on the subject of discomfort, don't expect skill building to be convenient. You will have to carve out time. You will have to give up certain distractions. You might have to say no to social events or entertainment so you can invest those hours into practice and learning. People will tell you to find balance, but when you're building a future, sometimes balance has to take a back seat to focus. The sacrifices you make now are what create the freedom and opportunities later. Another thing to understand is that skill development is a moving target. The world changes, industries shift, and what is valuable today might be less valuable 5 years from now. That's why you need to keep updating your skills. You can't rely on what you learned years ago to carry you forward forever. The marketplace rewards those who adapt, who keep learning, and who are willing to reinvent themselves when necessary. If you stop learning, you start falling behind, even if you're good at what you do right now. You should also learn skills in layers. Don't just focus on one narrow ability. Look for skills that complement each other and make you more well-rounded. For example, being a great technician is good, but if you can also communicate well, lead a team, and manage a project from start to finish, you're far more valuable. Each layer you add gives you more flexibility, more opportunities, and more control over your future. And remember, not all skills are technical. Emotional intelligence, self-discipline, time management, negotiation, these are skills too. They may not sound as flashy as learning a new technology or mastering a trade, but they're often the difference between success and failure. People lose opportunities all the time, not because they aren't smart enough, but because they can't manage themselves, work with others, or handle pressure. These soft skills are actually hard to master, and the people who have them stand out in any field. The process of building skills should be measurable. You can't just say, "I'm learning," without tracking whether you're actually getting better. Set specific goals for your skill development. If you're learning a new language, decide how many words or phrases you'll master each week. If you're learning to code, decide what projects you'll complete by a certain date. Progress is motivating, but you can't feel that motivation unless you can see it. There's also a big difference between passively learning and actively applying. Reading about a skill or watching videos about it is a starting point, but it's not enough. You need to use it in real situations. The fastest way to get better is to put your skills into action as soon as possible. Make mistakes, learn from them, and adjust. This is how you move from knowing something in theory to owning it in practice. Sometimes you'll feel like you're not improving fast enough. That's normal. Skill growth often happens in slow, invisible stages. You might practice for weeks without noticing a big change, and then suddenly something clicks. The important thing is to stay committed through the slow phases. Quitting too soon means you'll never reach the point where the results start to show. Don't wait for the perfect conditions to start. You might think you need more time, better resources, or a perfect plan before you begin working on a skill. That's just another form of procrastination. Start where you are with what you have. You can improve your tools and methods as you go. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll have something to build on. One of the most overlooked aspects of skill development is finding the right people to learn from. Mentors, coaches, experienced colleagues, they can speed up your progress by years. They can point out mistakes you don't see and show you smarter ways to improve, but you have to be willing to listen, take feedback seriously, and apply it. Learning from others is not a sign of weakness. It's a shortcut to mastery. Your environment also matters. If you surround yourself with people who value growth, you'll push yourself harder. If you're surrounded by people who are content with mediocrity, it's easy to settle for less than you're capable of. Seek out environments where learning is normal, where effort is respected, and where results are celebrated. The truth is, working on your skills is one of the most empowering things you can do for your future. Skills can't be taken away from you. They're yours to keep, and they compound over time. Each new skill makes you a little more capable, a little more independent, and a lot more confident. Confidence doesn't come from wishing for success. It comes from knowing you can handle what life throws at you, because you've built the abilities to deal with it. In the end, your skills are the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. They're the foundation for your goals, your income, your influence, and your ability to create the kind of life you want. So work on them like your future depends on it. because it does. Every hour you spend learning something useful is an investment in a future where you have more choices, more freedom, and more control over your own direction. That's the real reward of working on the skills that will change your future.
Chapter 3. Ignore the noise that pulls you off your path. One of the greatest challenges in building real direction in life is learning how to block out the noise that constantly tries to pull you off your path. The noise comes in many forms. It can be the opinions of people who don't understand your vision, the endless stream of distractions that fill your phone, the constant flow of news and trends that make you question your decisions, and the subtle but dangerous pull of comparing yourself to others. If you don't learn how to ignore these distractions, your focus will scatter and your progress will slow to a crawl. Noise has a way of convincing you that it's urgent. It makes you feel like you have to pay attention to it right now. It can disguise itself as important information or helpful advice, but often it's nothing more than a distraction from the work that matters. If you're not careful, you'll spend hours, days, even years reacting to the noise instead of building your own path. That's why you need to train yourself to quickly recognize when something is pulling you away from your priorities. Every time you get pulled into someone else's drama, every time you get lost scrolling through meaningless updates, every time you stop what you're doing to answer something that could easily wait, you're trading a piece of your future for a moment of distraction. The worst part is that most people don't even notice it happening until they look back and wonder where their time went. You can't afford to live like that if you want a clear and purposeful direction in life. The first step is to decide whose voice truly matters to you. Not every opinion is worth listening to. There will always be people who think they know what's best for you, but their perspective is shaped by their own fears, limits, and experiences. You have to be careful about accepting advice from people who haven't walked the road you're trying to walk. If they haven't achieved what you want to achieve, their guidance might not be what you need. The people whose opinions matter are the ones who understand your goals, respect your vision, and can offer insight based on real experience. Once you've decided whose voice counts, you have to make a conscious choice to tune out the rest. This is not about being rude, it's about protecting your mental space. Every time you allow unhelpful voices into your head, they plant seeds of doubt. Doubt leads to hesitation, and hesitation slows your progress. You can't move confidently toward your goals if you're constantly second-guessing yourself because of the noise around you. Technology makes ignoring noise harder than ever. Your phone alone is a constant source of interruption. Notifications, messages, updates, they're designed to steal your attention. If you let them, they'll control your schedule instead of you controlling your schedule. The truth is, most notifications aren't urgent. You don't need to respond instantly to every message. You don't need to check every update the moment it arrives. The more you can create boundaries with your technology, the more control you'll regain over your focus. Social media is one of the loudest forms of noise in today's world. It's a never-ending comparison game. You see the highlights of other people's lives and start questioning your own progress. You see their achievements without seeing the struggles it took to get there. Before you know it, you're measuring